right on top of Kuf Bays. It's 102. A, exactly on the top. It says, there's a Mishnah. Hazirek, talking about someone that throws and it's either passing 4 Amos or it's crossing a domain from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. So he throws, and he realizes what he did after it's too late. It's already left his hand. He realizes, I shouldn't have done that. It's Shabbos today. So there was a shift in his intention in between when he threw it and when it landed. When he threw it, he was a shogeg. When it landed, he was already, he knew what was happening. It's considered a mazid. He can't really bring it back at this point. That's what it seems. But kol ta'acher, the way the Mishnah is written is going to leave the Gemara a lot of room to play with, because it sounds like it's all one case. He threw it, his intention switches, another person catches it, kol ta'acher. Another person catches it, not in the place where he wanted it to land, like intercepts it. So his machshava wasn't fulfilled. His intention wasn't fulfilled. Why do we need both of those? First, he realized, and his intention wasn't fulfilled. Either of them would have made him pater. And that's going to be a big discussion in the Gemara. Or instead of someone else intercepting it, kol kelev, a dog catches it. That's not considered a real hanacha, because it didn't land on an area that's 4x4. Oishin isrifa. This doesn't mean that he threw it so fast that it broke through the atmosphere and it burnt up. This is, he threw it, there happened to be a fire, and it went through the fire, caught on fire before it landed. Maybe it was a paper airplane. Threw it next to the candles. It burnt up, so it didn't actually land. Before it landed, it burnt up. So all of those cases, he's pater. As it passed the area where he's allowed to throw it, but it didn't. When before the landing, it was already burnt. Okay, another case which doesn't have to do with carrying. This is a different malacha. Zarak lasis chabura. He threw it with the intention to hurt someone. He's throwing a rock. And bein ba'adam, bein bebehema, whether it was throwing it at a person or throwing it at an animal. V'nizkar shlei nasis chabura. He realizes what he's doing after it's too late. It already left his hand, but it didn't hit the animal or person. So his intention switches from the beginning of the act to when he gets the results, to the outcome. That's also a case of pater. He's exempt. Zeh klal, here's the rule. Kol chayav b'chatayis, anyone that's chayav b'chatas, inen chayav b'nat shtei tchilasan v'seifen shkaga. The only chayav if the beginning and the end is b'shegeg. Doesn't tell us about the middle. See, there's going to be another opinion in there. It sounds like all the way through. Unless he's all the way through is one machshava. Yeah, he doesn't realize that it's aser. Tchilasan shkaga v'seifen zaden. Let's say it started off, he's a shegeg. Shegeg means unintentional. And in the end, it becomes intentional. Or tchilasan zaden v'seifen shkaga. Starts off intentional, in the end, it's unintentional. But those cases are peturin ad shei tchilasan v'seifen shkaga. He's exempt unless the beginning and the end are in the same status of unintentional for a chatas. Okay, in the Mishnah we had sort of 3 cases. First case was when he throws and his intention changes and it gets intercepted. Second case was he wasn't throwing to carry, he was throwing, could have been inside, but he was throwing to cause a wound in someone. Also in his intention changes. And the third thing was the zeh klal. The zeh klal sort of has a little repetition at the end. But okay. Back to the first case of the Mishnah. We said someone that throws And when it leaves his hand, he changes his mind. He realizes he shouldn't be throwing this. And someone else intercepts it. So then he's pater. The Gemara asks, ha nacha, but let's say it wasn't intercepted by someone else, then chayiv. It would be chayiv. The problem is, v'alei nizkar, but his intention changed and he realized that he shouldn't be doing that. We know the rule already that if you started off as a shogeg, then you realize that you shouldn't be doing this, so you're pater. Why are you saying that you're pater only because it was intercepted? He's pater even if it landed. Sounds like he's chayav if it lands. He's only pater because it's intercepted. Really, he's pater because his intention changed. Utanan, and we have a clear Mishnah. It's very familiar to us. Kol chayav v'chatas in a chayav and adshay tchilas v'seif and shkaga. Can't be chayav. He started off as a shagig and he finished with the zadan. He realized what he was doing. Rav Kana says that seifa asan lalachta umasna. That story where you're telling me that you're going to be pater if your intention changes, that's a very unique case. It's only in one instance where you have the ability to stop what you did. Because here you're dealing with some sort of device. I don't know exactly what it is, some sort of piece of wood that's attached to a string. It has to do with the plowing. Whatever the case is, you have the string still in your hand. You threw the top of it. The string is there. You realized, oh yeah, I shouldn't be throwing that on Shabbos. And you could have pulled it back. The fact that you didn't pull it back, that makes that your malacha was still your doing. And so therefore, it was if the intention changes, then you're going to be pater. However, if you throw it and it's gone from your hand, you can't get it back. So what if your intention changes? You can't get it back. The whole malacha was that first act. Yeah, it has to play out, but your mind doesn't matter anymore. So therefore, the whole reason why in the Reisha you're pater, in the first case of the Mishnah you're pater, is all because it was intercepted. If it wouldn't have been intercepted, even though you realized before it landed, that doesn't matter because that realization is nothing because you can't pull it back anyway. The Gemara has a question on this. We're saying that if you throw it and you have a string attached, then your intention matters. And if you realize that you shouldn't be doing that, then you're going to be pater. Lachta masna oikta biyadahu. You have a much bigger problem than changing your intention to be pater. The problem is that you didn't throw it at all. If you throw something with a string in your hand, that's not considered throwing. You're holding on to one end. You're telling me that the reason why you're pater when you throw that string with that device at the end is because you changed your intention in middle, and that's why you're pater. You started off, you threw it, it was b'shogeg. I didn't realize it's Shabbos. I think it's Friday I'm throwing. Then they say, oh, it's Shabbos, I can't throw that. So that's why you're pater. That's not why you're pater. You're pater because you didn't throw it. You have the string in your hand. So we have a problem with our answer of the Gemara. The Gemara says, Gemara gives a very interesting resolution to the issue. If you're talking about carrying and you have a string in your hand, so correct, you didn't carry. But if you're talking about making a chabura, then the string in your hand doesn't affect the chabura. That these these guns that would shoot a cork, it had a string attached, just like air pressure. So if it doesn't matter, the string attached only would make you pater for Shabbos because you didn't throw it. But for changing your kavana, having the ability to pull it back, that you can still do when it comes to making a bruise in someone. If someone was throwing a rock with a string attached, so he thinks that he's allowed to do that. He realizes that he can't do that. So because he has a string attached, so he changed his kavana, and he could have actually pulled it back. So therefore, he's going to be pater. So the story over here is that whole case is when someone wanted to make a chabura and the string is attached. He wanted to cause someone a bruise, an injury, and he could have stopped it. The Gemara says, 1 second. That's what that's telling me. Hanami Tanina. That we have a Mishnah for. Hazer klas chabur bein bad bein behim v'nizkar shleinas chabur is pater. Zeh klal is telling me that case. Ela amarava b'maver. Rava tells me we're not dealing with Zayrek. See, what's happening here in this Mishnah is really getting torn apart. The first case is really messing everything up, because the first case says that he changed his intention and it got intercepted. And we have to figure out, why does it need to get intercepted for him to be pater? If he changes his intention, he should be pater. So we're saying that whenever someone changes his intention to be pater, it changes his intention, he's going to be pater only if he's able to stop what he did and pull it back. The problem is that if he's able to stop it, then he didn't really throw it. So we're saying, well, we're not dealing with the malacha of throwing, we're dealing with the malacha of causing an injury, causing a cut. So we said that's impossible because the Mishnah says that clearly. So now we have a Ela Marava. Rava says, let me tell you what we're talking about. That story is Zehaklal, this is the rule, that if the intention isn't the same throughout the whole malacha, you're going to be pater. That's talking about someone walking. He's walking 4 cubits, and he can stop whenever he wants. He started walking, and he's carrying, of course, while he's walking. He's walking and carrying. He's not throwing something that it leaves his hand. He starts walking. He's like, yeah, let me go for a stroll. I'll take my newspaper with me. And then he's 3.5 cubits. He says, oh, it's Shabbos. He could have stopped, but he doesn't stop. And he walks the last bit. So then he's going to be pater, because he's not eligible for a chatas, and he also didn't do a full malacha for mezid, so he's going to be pater. He doesn't fit in the punishment categories. The Gemara says, 1 second. So you're telling me a new story over here of maver, someone's walking. That's the third case of the Mishnah. But that's not what the Mishnah is talking about. The Zaklal is talking about when he's Zayrek, when he throws it. It's a little odd. There's a little odd point here in the Gemara, because when it came to saying Chabura, the Gemara was disturbed by saying, how could you say it's talking about Chabura, that we have a clear case in the Mishnah? When we try to say that it's Maver, we say, how could you say it's Maver? The Mishnah is talking about Zayrek. Okay. Elam Rava says, Tartik Tani. There's two stories over here. The first case of the Mishnah could be resolved so easily, and it all has to do with like 1 or 2 letters. It goes like this: Hazayrik v'niska lachash yatzim yadei. Someone throws something, and he realizes after it left his hand that he shouldn't be doing that. That's a case already that he's going to be pater. Inami, another case that'll be pater. Loi nizkar, he didn't realize what he did wrong, but v'kol ta'acher, it got intercepted. He's another case of pater. Our whole problem is just resolved just with that inami, with the oi, right? He resolved the whole Mishnah. It's a separate case. Oi kol ta'kelev, or it got intercepted by a dog. Oi shenisrafa, or it got burnt up in the middle. All of those cases is pater. One of those cases is if he changed his intention in the middle. He realized he shouldn't be doing it. That's Rabbi's answer for this. Um, there's a problem with Rashi over here. Rashi says, okay, you resolve the beginning of the Mishnah. What does the Zehaklal do? The end of the Mishnah. Rashi says, "V'hoder tani klal ala suyi maver." That the general rule is coming to tell me that if you're walking, then you're going to be pater. If you're going to be pater if you don't have the same intention all the way through. The problem with Rashi is that the Gemara didn't want to say that the Zehaklal is referring to maver. The Gemara thought that it was referring to Zayrek. Anyway, okay. So we have an answer. Rava gave us an answer. Ravashi says that the Mishnah is missing words, similar to what Rava said, but it's missing a different, it's almost different, missing a case. It goes like this. Someone threw something, and he realizes that he shouldn't have done that on Shabbos, and it's too late. Kol ta'acher, if someone else catches it, intercepts it. I call to Kelver, it gets caught by a dog. Ishinisrafar, it gets burnt. It's all those cases pater. Ha'anacha, but if it would have landed, chayev, then he's going to be chayev. That's what we understood from the Mishnah. The problem is, why is he chayev? He changed his intention in the middle. Where it says, when do we say that it would be chayev? Shechazav v'shachach. If after he changed his intention, it's Shabbos, and then it doesn't land yet, it's still going. And then when it lands, he's like, oh no, it's not, it's Friday. And then maybe later he'll realize, but that doesn't matter. So he concludes the beginning of the malacha, the akira was, today's Friday, he has no problem with me to throw this. In the middle, he thinks that it's Shabbos. So, what did I do? And then and then he says, oh no, it's Friday, it's no problem, and then it lands. So that's when it's going to be chayev, because the beginning and the end was b'shegeg. But if he doesn't forget that it's Shabbos at the end, then it'd be pater. That's what it means, the beginning and the end, not the middle. The middle doesn't matter. That's Ravashi's pshat to the Mishnah. So Zayrek v'nizkar me'achar shetzem miyadai and kol ta'acher is going to be pater. That's because b'mei devarim amurim, that's when he realized at the end that it's Shabbos and he shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Zeh klal, the Gemara now says, kol chayev v'chatais. This past Gemara that we did is like really incredible how it goes back and forth, the details. Each time you have to reread the Mishnah and see on each level what the Mishnah would have meant. Okay. The rule is anything that's chayiv chatas has to be from beginning to the end. Itmar. There was a statement of Amiram. Shtei ames b'shegeg, shtei ames b'mezid, shtei ames b'shegeg. A person's chayiv if he carries 4 ames. This person carried 6 ames. 4 of those ames were b'shegeg. Sounds like he should be chayiv, right? The only problem is that when he carried the amount that would make him chayiv, 2 ames were shegeg and 2 ames were mezid. So at the end of his shear, he doesn't have a shear of shegeg. But in total, at the end of the whole story, he has a shear of shegeg. So Rabbi Amar Pater, Rabbi says that he's Pater, and Rava Amar Chayev. Rava says Chayev. It's machlekes Rabba and Rava. Now, there's an interesting thing the historians say is that we never find any discussion between Rabba and Rava. Rava was a student of Rabba, and we never have communication. We have Abaya talking to Rabba, Abaya talking to Rava, but Rabba and Rava for some reason never have any discussion, although there are machlekes that they have, but it doesn't mean that they said it to each other. I don't know, it doesn't say that in the Gemara, but the historians make a big deal about that we don't find them communicating. Anyway, Rabba Amar Pater. Rabba says that you're Pater in this case. It's 2 Amas Shegig, 2 Amas Mezid, 2 Amas Shegig, and you're Pater. Afilu l'Rabban Gamliel, even according to Rabban Gamliel that the Gemara is going to discuss, the Mereini Dia L'Chatzi Shir, he says that the Yediyah that you have, that awareness that you have in middle, is not considered a real awareness. Because what did you do in that awareness? You walked 2 Amas. That's not a malacha, so it doesn't count. So I know that an awareness of doing the malacha affects that if the malacha is considered a real malacha, but that would only be a yediyah about a full malacha. Here you only had a yediyah about half a malacha. And that doesn't count. It's not considered a yediyah, an awareness. So even according to Rabbi Gamliel, that says that there's no such thing as a yediyah for half a malacha, so you should definitely be chayav. Here it was all b'shegig. It says hasamud chigamar shiur b'shegig kagamar. That's only if it would have ended b'shegig. Then we would say that the yediyah was nothing and you're chayav. Aval hacha de b'mezid, but over here, where did he stop? No, not where did he stop. That's the wrong one. Where did he go 4 Amas? When he finished his 4 Amas, it was b'mezid. He started the 4 Amas was b'shegig. So therefore, even Rabbi Gamliel would say that this affects the fullness of the malacha, and you should be pater. Well, the mezid lie should be pater. Says 1 second. What are we talking about? Ibezayrik. Are you talking about that he threw it 6 Amas? Then Shegiku. What happened over here? When he left his hand, it was a Shegig. When it lands, he's a Shegig. So why are you saying that he's pater? In the middle, there was some awareness, but the Akira and the Hanacha were b'Shegig. Ela b'maver. You must say that he's walking. And the walking is that while he's walking, when he reaches 4 Amas, he has an awareness. And therefore, at the end of the 4 Amas, that's not considered a malacha. Because he knows that it's not considered a malacha that it should be chayav for. Because he started off 2 Amas of Shegig. He could be chayav if he would continue like that. But then he knows that he's doing something wrong for this next 2 Amas. So therefore, he should be pater. Very important that because he's walking, he's able to stop right there. So that means that he completed the malacha b'mezid. That's the opinion of Rava. That's the opinion of Rabba that says that it's pater. Rava Amar Chayev. Rava says that he's chayev. Afilu l'Rabbanan damri yeshidiyah l'chatzi shiur. Even according to the Rabbanan that say really you should be pater, because there's a yediyah, there's an awareness, even for a chatzi shiur, which means that any sort of awareness in middle will affect.
I'm sorry, I'm lost here. 1 second. So I bezorek shoygeku el b'mavir. That's finishing up who?
So
that's finishing up that he should be pater or chayav according to
we're
Rabbi.
We're asking on the one that says pater. Why should he be pater? If he's zayrek, then it's impossible to be pater because there was an akira b'shegig and a hanacha b'shegig. So he should be chayav. If we say
b'mavir,
so we switch it. We're talking about mavir. He's walking,
and it'll still be what?
And it will still, and that's why it's going to be pater, because when he reaches his limit of the malacha, which is 4 Amas, he had half shegig and half mezid, and that was his malacha, and therefore he's pater.
So up until that spot where it says El B'Mavir, that's referring to who? To Rabba.
To Rabbi who says
Potter.
Pater. Yeah.
So this Rabba now says Chayav?
No. Okay, so yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. That throws everyone off. That's a mistake, a printing mistake. Switch that Rabba to Rabba.
Okay.
Yeah, very observant. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, on the side of my Gemara it says Tzarech Liyis Rava. Yeah, if not for that help, Rabbi Shaya Pick, he wrote that the brackets on the side of the Gemara. It's Rabbi Shaya Pick. So I think it was in the time of the Night of Yehuda. Anyway, it's an important adjustment there. Rava says Chayiv, and even according to the Rabbanon, the Amri Yeshi Di Alachat Yishiv, and according to the Rabbanon that say should be Pater here because he had an awareness for 2 amas. So Hasam would be Yadi. Over there, that's because he could stop it. But over here he can't stop it. So 1 second. What do you mean he can't stop it? Ibn Ma'aver, if he's walking, of course he could stop. Stop walking. This is Vela Bezerek. We're talking about that he threw it. Comes out, this Gemara is so interesting because there's no machlekes. Rav is talking about he's chayev. Rav says chayev because he threw it. And Rabbi agrees to that. If you throw it, you're chayev because it starts with a shegig, it ends with a shegig. And that's the akira and that's the anacha. Rabbi says you're pater because you're walking. And Rav agrees to that. There's no machlekes. It would look like a machlekes. This is a typical case in Besdin.
Would it make sense since Rafa is a student of Rabbi?
Oh, that he doesn't argue? Is that what you're saying? Because
yes.
Uh-huh. We know that Rava argues with Rabba. We have these cases, and if you remember in Eily Metzias, Simona Asili Dares, or Makam Havi Simin, those are Machlekes in Rava and Rabba. We know that they would argue. It just turns out over here that they're each talking, adamantly, let's say, about their about their view, and it turns out that they're each dealing with different cases. Depends if it's it's Dalet Amos, or here it's 6 Amos, but one's throwing and one's walking. Okay, Amar Rabba, maybe Amar Rava. Shai pick again, switches it. Zarak v'nacha b'pi kelev. If someone throws an item, say a tennis ball, and it lands in the mouth of a dog, it's typical. Or it lands in a furnace, burns up, I guess, but it still lands. That's what you have to say. He's chayev. He's chayev. It's a big problem because the Mishnah said that he's pater. The Gemara says, "Vanan tanan kolta acher kolta kelev shenisriva pater." What are you talking about? The Mishnah clearly says pater. What's Rava saying? The Gemara says, "Hasam delay mechaben, hachad dekam mechaben." Over there, he wanted it to land in a certain place. Some dog runs by and catches it. That's not what he wanted. So therefore he's pater. Over here, he was throwing it. That's how he plays with his dog. He throws the thing and the dog runs and catches it. So that's why he's chayev. That was his intention. Over there, it was intercepted. If that's his intention, that's considered the malacha. It's a chiddush, because we said it didn't land on a place that's 4x4. But I guess if that's his intention, that's considered where he wanted it to go. Amar Rav Bibi Barabaya Afana Nami Tanina. We learned it in the Mishnah. It's possible that a person can eat one piece of food and he could be chayev 4 chatayis and 1 asham, 5 kabbanas. in the politics, in the kashrus industry. One says this one's food is totally treif, so they throw into that argument. They say not only is it treif, but someone that eats it violates 6 lavin. So anyway, this is the a severe case of a bite of food, kazayas, let's say, and it's 5 karbanas. How does it work? Hatame.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
a quick question: are we dealing in all these cases in Rishus Harabim?
Whenever we mention 4 Amos, we're dealing with Rishus Harabim.
But the previous cases had to do with starting Rishus Hayachid, ending up in Rishus Harabim. So
Right.
why can't we say here? Let's say he was playing with his dog in his yard, his own dog, and was doing fetch. And he threw things in the dog court. As long as it was, let's not get into, it's his dog, whatever, all right? His dog brings back. Then he throws it further. It goes in Rishus Harabim. The dog now intercepts it and say, what would be the situation there? Because he threw Rishus Harabim, but it was intercepted by the dog. And midway he says, oh my God, I threw it too far. Is he chayiv that he went from Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Harabim? It's not mentioned at all.
So you have to make a distinction here between someone that throws too far, that's not where he wanted it to land. In that case, he would be pater. If it goes in a place where he didn't want it to land, then he's pater. Between someone that throws it and then realizes that it's Shabbos and it lands where he wanted it to land. See, the difference is, one is just an awareness, and one is that the act that he didn't actually materialize. If it doesn't materialize, then it's not considered malachas machshavas. We had a case before, but if he throws 8 cubits, in that is contained 4 cubits. So no, if he wanted to throw 8, but he threw 4, so that maybe should be chayiv there. We had a discussion about that. But if he overthrows, it doesn't land, it's mamash where he doesn't want it to land, so then he should be pater. The other cases where he realizes that it's Shabbos and he never wanted to throw at all. So over there, the malacha was done. It's just the missing in the awareness of what the malacha is. Is it a shagig? Is it a mezid? It's inconsistent. So now, he's tamei. He's not allowed to eat food that's kosher. She'achal chelev. He eats chelev. Well, chelev is prohibited fat. You're not allowed to eat that. But who nicer? It's worse than just chelev. This is chelev that was part of a korban. It's part of a korban. Not only is it part of a korban, it's worse than that. This is a korban that wasn't eaten in time. It was left over. And it's out of the time. And mina mukdashin. Not only is it a problem that it's nicer, but it's also not permitted for anybody to eat this, even originally, because this is the part of the sacrifice that's burnt on the altar. So he wasn't allowed to eat this for several reasons. First, he's tamei. It's chelev. It's nicer. And he has an asham me'ilas that he has to bring because he just had benefit from something that's kodesh, which the kohen has no right to because it's meant to be going on the altar. And finally, his fourth. So there's one me'ilah, one asham there, and 3 chatois. And finally, his fourth chatos is b'yom kippurim. It was Yom Kippur. He wasn't allowed to be eating. How to get into the Beis Hamikdash? Well, he was there doing the service. He snuck away while he was watching the Kohen Gadol. Took a bite to eat. So Rabbi Meir says, 1 second. Afam haisa Shabbos v'itziu b'fiv chayiv. Why don't you throw into this that it's Shabbos? And he puts it in his mouth, and he walks outside into the public domain. So Amrullah Einim and Hashem. He said, we're not talking about Haitzah, we're talking about Achila. You're telling me carrying. You can mix in a whole bunch of other things over here. He used it to marry a woman that he wasn't allowed to marry. There's you can come up with all types of things, but that's not what we're talking. We're talking about eating, and a chiyuv from eating would only be those four. And you're telling me about carrying. Okay. Gemara asks, 1 second. Why are you telling me that? Why does Rabbi Meir say that you'd be chayiv if you carried it out in your mouth? That's not the way people normally carry. People don't carry in their mouth. The Gemara answers, since that's his intention, so that's considered an area. Like we asked about the dog. Before we said that the dog wasn't considered a landing, wasn't considered a makom chashuv. So here, he's carrying out with his mouth. That's not a normal way of carrying. The Gemara says, no, that isn't normal. Because just like over there, if the dog catches it, that's considered an area of 4x4. It considers it a normal thing because that's his intention. And that makes it a significant act because that's what he wanted to do. Okay, that's the raya. Why, when Rava said that if the dog catches it, he's chayiv, and the Mishnah says the dog catches it, he's pater, one was talking about when that's what he wanted, and one was talking when he didn't want it. Okay, that's the end of the parak. We're on Kuf Beis, Amid Beis, 102b. Habayna. It's a little easier. Habayna, someone that builds, Kama Yivne Chayev. How much building would make him Chayev? Talking about building on Shabbos, construction. It's one of the 39. It says Habayna Kolsha, even the smallest amount. We're just going to discuss what does that look like, the smallest amount. Hamasatis, someone that chisels rock. Makabepatish, bangs with a hammer. Ubematzid is like a metal hammer. Vakideach, someone that drills or pierces something. So either wood or stone. Kolshu, even the smallest amount is chayiv. Zehaklal, here's the rule. Anyone that does any sort of work, and that's considered a full act, that it could stay like that. So then he's chayiv if he does it on Shabbos. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Afa Maka b'kornes al asadin b'shas malacha chayiv pnei shu k'mesaken malacha. Even someone that fixes his hammer by banging the hammer on the anvil, which is not the work that he's doing. He's banging nails into a house. But when he bangs on the nails and the hammer gets not flat at one end, and he bangs it to flatten it out, so that's also considered a malacha. He's fixing the hammer at that time. Okay, the Gemara asks, Kol shalamai chazia. When someone bills the smallest amount, what is that good for? The Gemara says, Rabbi Yirmish chayfa gumal he's digging a little hole. Digging a hole outside in the field would be chayrish, but digging a hole in the house is considered building. It's a construction. So, a poor person can dig a little hole to hide something, to put his coins in, his prutas. In the Mishkan, the people that were sewing would hide their needles in a little hole. They were sewing the tapestries, they would hide it in the hole.
So why would that be baina?
In the house, that's considered, you made like a cabinet. You made a place to keep things in your house.
Well, that's a cabinet. You just said chayfer. Big difference. I mean,
Yeah, if you do it in the field, that's chayfer. If you do it in the house, then that becomes a cabinet. That becomes like a chest or something. That's right. Yeah, even to smooth out the floor would be baina, would be an issue of baina. Any sort of fixing in the house. Abaya says 1 second. Kiven de mashtachei layavdi hachi. Someone's going to put their needles in a hole in the ground. It's going to rust. They won't do that. See, a poor person doesn't have a real stove. So what he'll do is he'll make some sort of tripod. You can imagine using a hanger from the cleaners or something. He's going to light a little fire under it. And he has one pot. He's going to be able to cook his food on top of that. So doing this tiny thing, this little piece of a few pieces that are going to hold up the pot, and you'll be able to put some wood under it. So that's considered baina. Ravacha, did I skip? Yeah. Where do you see this in the Mishkan? The Kavasei Gabi Mishkan, Mevashli Samanam, Litzves Yurias, Shechastra Malachtan, Aisapitputik Kiriktana, Litzve Yuriktana. Let's say they were cooking up the dyes, and they had enough for most of it, and there was a little bit left that they didn't have. They needed a little bit more. Going to cook up a whole new big pot. So they make a little pot on the side, just for that little bit, the extra bit of wool that needed to be dyed. They cook up the dyes over there in that little pot. So that's what they would do also. That's if they did that in the Mishkan, that's considered a malacha. And if an ani prepares a place to put the pot, to cook it up for his little bit of food, so he would be chayav for baina. You're telling me that in the Mishkan, the preparation, they would cook up little pots. That's not, that's for the way a poor person does it. There was no such thing. They had massive pots. They would only do it like that. And that's not considered a malacha chashuva. Ela shekain balabaya sheyesh nekev bebirasa v'seismai the kavasei gav Mishkan. Talking about if someone has a hole in his house. So if he has a nice house, he's going to want to fix the hole. There's a little hole. He'll fill it in with whatever it is, and that's building. So in the Mishkan as well, shekain keresh enafel beidarna matach l'teicha ever v'seisma. If there was a keresh, a beam, that a worm ate a little bit in it, so they would fill it up with aver. Aver is lead. I didn't know they were allowed to do that, but that's what they would do. That's what the Gemara says. So, okay. That's what we're looking for is a binyan, a baina kolsho. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says, "Hamitzadeh das even chayev." This is very interesting. If someone puts a rock on the ground, but it's like a cornerstone, it's a heavy rock, he sets it in place. So if that's a place where that could stay, then that's the beginning of of building. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. What are you saying? If one person puts the rock, another person puts the cement on it, the rock doesn't stay in place. It's the one that put the cement that's chayiv. Here you're saying that if you put a rock, you're chayiv. Umar's going to answer that this depends where, there's different locations. But initially, the Gemara is questioning that it's not the rock that makes you chayiv, it's the cement that keeps the rock in place that makes you chayiv. Gemara says, 1 second, according to you, you have to look at what it says in the end, and you have a question as well. If you go up to the top of the wall, and you put the rocks on the top of the wall, you know, there's a layer of soft cement, they just put down the cement. The top rocks don't have cement on top of them. It's only in the middle that they have cement. The top ones sit on the cement. If you go up there and you put the rock, you're chayiv. Why are you asking about this? You see you're chayiv if you put a rock there. The Gemara says, there's 3 levels of building. Tata, Mitzia, Ve'ela. The bottom, the middle, and the top. Sounds like there's chassidus in this. I don't know what it is, but Tata, Baitz, Dudi, Vafra. The bottom one needs to be positioned, and it needs dirt. Doesn't need cement. This is a cornerstone for the stones on the bottom. Mitzia, Bainamitina. The middle ones, they need cement. And Ilah, Bahanacha, Ba'alma. On the top, you just have to place it. Top, you place it, you're chayiv just for placing it. Okay. The Gemara says, I'm a satis. So when that chisels. Satis mishum mai chayiv. Chiseling, why is he chayiv? The chisel has a hammer. He bangs a piece to make a groove in the stone, whether it's because he wants the stone to be flat or he wants a design in the stone or whatever it is. Rav says that's mishum baina. He's chayiv because of building. Shmuel mishum makapatish. It's banging with the hammer. We're going to see Shmuel has a few examples here of makabapatish, banging with the hammer, and it can never be redone. That's the thing. Once you chisel out of a stone, that's the way it is. That's the line that you made. So that's considered the final act for that. In that little spot, that's okay. In a chicken coop, it needs ventilation. It's terrible smell if it doesn't ventilate. So you have to make holes for it to ventilate. So if someone makes a hole in the chicken coop, so Ravam Shimba. Ayil Sufsa Bekupina Demara. I think what this means is the way they get the hammerhead to stay on the hammer is they put the wood through a hole in the hammer and the head of the hammer. Then they bang a nail into it so it expands, and that holds it in. They put in like these pegs that tighten it in. Now, I don't know, this is not a hammer, this is a hoe and whatever, but that's the idea. If you put the peg inside the handle to keep it on, so what is that? What malacha is that? Rava mishum boina shmuel mishum makabepatish. It's machlekes Rav and Shmuel. It's a boina makabepatish. Tzricha. We need all of these cases of Shmuel to tell me makabepatish, because each one would not have told me the other one. If you would have just said the chiseling out on the stone, that was a machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Rav says over there in that case, because that's how you build. You have to chisel the stone, you have to make it flat, so it could fit into the wall. But if you make a hole in a chicken coop, that's not the way you build. It's not building. Well, sort of is the way you build, but it's more like you built it, and it's like adding a hole into it. It can't be perfect because you need to have the holes to ventilate. I don't know if that's Shmuel. He would say that that's not considered binyan. That's considered just makabepatish. And if we would say about the hole in the chicken coop, it looks like you're building. You have a chicken coop and you're banging it. You're making a window, you're making it for the ventilation. But banging a peg into a hammer, into a hoe, is not considered building. Then he would be maybe he would be made to Shmuel to say that that's considered makabepatish. And if it would just tell me the last case of banging the peg into the hoe, so b'hakamer Shmuel, that's the case where Shmuel says that it's makabepatish. But the other ones, which is chiseling the rock and making a hole in a chicken coop, Maybe he would be moided to Rav that's considered binyan and not makabeh patish. It's all necessary. All three cases are necessary. Let's leave it here for today.